Let's talk about, again, someone who's type A, very goal-oriented. Yeah, they do work out, wake up early, they're hit every, task item, and then it's really probably too stuck in their head. And, I suffer from that as well every once in a while, where we're just like always aiming for perfection. Mm-hmm. How important is it to just kind of surrender and say, you know what, I'm just going to be happy with the results that I'm providing and putting out there, and just say surrender? And what are the best practices to really get grounded in that moment of surrender and not always be action oriented? Although I do think that being action oriented is very important, but sometimes we have to go with the ebb and flow of life.
I think that everybody is on their own personal journey, and they are where they are. I was that type A person. When my kids were small, I'd get up at 5 in the morning and exercise. Sometimes I'd wake up at 2 or 3 in the morning and I couldn't sleep because I had work responsibility, I had kid responsibility, I had home responsibilities, and I would get up and do laundry at 2 o'clock in the morning, or write a list of all the things. I was very list oriented, and I was very unhappy. Forget it. It was a house of cards. One thing went wrong on that list and it was like everything else. But I had to go through that to be at the point I am now, some 30 years later or 25 years later, of surrendering is a lot easier for me now. So that's the first thing, is that, be gentle with yourself, love yourself, that where you are is where you are. And if you're that type A personality, when you're ready not to be that way anymore, then you'll move on to the next thing. And I think the main thing is that you do things that work for you. Like back then I mentioned, I used to run, and I'd get up and I'd do, in the 80s, 90s, it was Jane Fonda. You'd get up and you'd do, exercise and stuff. And then, later on I got to the point and I was like, gosh, I hate running. Why am I running? So I stopped running and I took up just walking and seeing my neighborhoods. I've been lucky to live in really nice neighborhoods, and I like plants and flowers and stuff like that, and it enabled me. But the point is to do what works for you. If it's a hard workout that gets you from overthinking things, that's a form of meditation. For me, I grew up with music in my house. My aunt and my uncle lived across the street. My aunt played the piano beautifully, and my uncle was a mariachi. And they would come over for dinner, and my mom would sing, and my uncle's playing, and my aunt's on the piano. Or even now, if I'm sad or something, put a little David Bowie on, and I just the sound of his voice, So do whatever works for you. I think the main thing is being gentle with yourself and knowing that life is an experience, it's a process, and wherever you are is exactly where you're supposed to be. And as you get older, you start to find if I wouldn't have done that, or if I wouldn't have learned how to do that, I wouldn't be here. You're a perfect example of that. All your years of editing and production, and here we are doing it in this format to help other people understand that there's more out there to help you energy-wise, so that you don't have to suffer. We weren't brought here to suffer. That's something that's kind of man-made here. And if we get out of our heads, whether it's running or martial arts or whatever, as long as it's not something that's going to hurt you, over drinking or drug use, or just gambling, something like that it's not really going to help you get quiet and listen to those things that you made that promise about, that we talked about before, that you came here to do, then it's all good. There's people I know, they don't like yoga. Oh, it's too slow. That's okay. Don't do yoga. You want to go do Zumba? Hey, power to you. I think the main point is be nice to yourself. Be gentle with yourself. Where you are in your process is exactly where you're supposed to be.